is the ultimate guide to watch parties. It's a World Cup year. Club allegiances are put aside. It's all about your country and a wonderful festival of football. But with the astronomical prices of tickets, the USA versus Australia are going for over $1,700. Maybe hosting a watch party is the thing to do. So I'm building our smallest LED. It's like 5 foot by about 3 foot. This is really cool for a backyard or maybe a small bar. This is the smallest one that we have, and then we go much, much bigger. So if you've got that watch party that you want to do in your backyard, you can't get the tickets, give us a call and we can help you out with that. I'm going to finish this wall off. So why would you do an LED screen over a projector screen? Well, this can be used in the day outside. The other really, really cool thing is if you've ever been to a sporting event, they have the big jumbotrons. This is a jumbotron in your backyard, which is absolutely amazing. This one I had to build, you saw the time lapse, but we also have these on trailers so we can just drive them in, press a button, up they go, and then you can watch them. And if the game is at night, you can definitely project the game with a big inflatable screen. But if you're doing that daytime event and you want to do it outside and you want to do that watch party, I think LED is definitely the way to go. So what are you going to do before the game or after the game or even at halftime? Well, having some fun games for people to play is always fun. Maybe you have table football. Look up Subbuteo, a great another table football game. You can always have a ball around, throw some coats down, you got goalposts, and you can have your own little World Cup. Don't forget futsal, played with that smaller ball and get some of those smaller goals. They're all fun things to do. You could even have beanbag toss, but it's all about the game. So your major problem if you're doing a multi-screen event is having those screens be showing slightly different part of the game. Let me explain. If you have 2 Roku players and you use them in the same household, I don't know if you've ever noticed, there is a delay. One of them is always in front of the other because of buffering and everything. So whenever you do, you want to make sure that you're running off the same feed, off that one connection. I'll give you an example of where we had an issue with that. We were doing England versus USA game, and the bar that we were working with had one feed and we had a different feed. They were 7 seconds in front. We couldn't hear the game, but we could hear the cheering, so we knew exactly what was going on in the game, and that was not okay. How did we get over that? We ended up using a HDMI splitter, and I'm gonna give you 3 different options so you can get everything on the same feed, on the same screen, so you do not have that problem. First thing is what we used in that location was an HDMI splitter. So with this, you'll have 1 input right there, and then 2 HDMI outputs. The problem with HDMI is it's only good up to about 25 feet. And then after that, you've got to make sure you have a specialist cable for it to work well. What we tend to use is the optical HDMI cables. So just make sure you've got a high quality cable and make sure you test beforehand. We can comfortably get 100 feet away from wherever that feed is coming. Next option is this guy right here. This is an HDMI amplifier, and it's a splitter, and what it'll do is it'll take the HDMI feed, then it feeds that through Ethernet, so it can go up to 325 feet away from wherever this is for your next screen. Always make sure you get high quality cables. So this would then connect to a long Ethernet cable, and on the other end of this, next to your screen, you would have the little extender box. Now when you do this, you have to make sure, depending on the device you use, your extender box has power and definitely test. The third option, I don't have the splitter in front of me, is to use SDI. Now SDI is really good for taking that video signal over a long distance, and many of the HDMI to SDI will give you that 2 options, so you can run 2 TVs from that. So I've given you 3 different options. Definitely, if you have any questions like that, you're looking to do a screening party, definitely call Funflix or a company like that, and they should be able to walk you through that and get you the best possible way of doing that. So maybe you've got that one screen inside and you've got a screen outside. You want those 2 screens to be the same. Don't have the issue that we've had in the past. Let's make sure that both of those feeds are identical so everybody can really enjoy the game. All right, so we're going to talk about the different types of screening. If you're doing something at your house, you've got a screen out back, you've got a few friends over, that's all fine and dandy. There's no problems with that. However, as soon as that becomes a public screening, there are certain things that you should consider. And we're going to go through some of those possible issues and what you need to do. Most of this information I'm pulling from is the Bay Area Public Screening Playbook, which was for the World Cup. And we're going to go over that basic stuff right now. So if you are doing something public facing, there's going to be 3 different types of events. We're going to cover 2 of those, which is non-commercial public viewings and special non-commercial public viewings. Again, this is all from the playbook. The final one is commercial public viewing, and that would be something that would be organized basically for profit. It includes admission fees for entry, sponsorships, and the exhibitor is gaining a commercial benefit from staging the event. That is not going to be covered in this guide. If you go to the FIFA website, you'll be able to find out where you can apply for something like that. A lot of the big watch parties are already in process, so equipment may be hard to get the closer you leave it to the event, and you do have to get special permission for that. We're going to cover the other 2, which is non-commercial public viewing and special non-commercial public viewing. So your normal non-commercial public viewing is going to be your bars, maybe your sports bars, your hotel bars, restaurants, that type of thing. So the important things are it has to be free of charge. You cannot charge admission. No sponsorships. 1,000 people or fewer. This is for the non-commercial public viewing, the standard one. And again, this is the bars, that type of thing. Now, really important with that, you must show the game in its entirety. That means you cannot be skipping commercials, pausing commercials, putting your own logo up there. It needs to play in its entirety. They want 10 minutes before the game and 10 minutes after the game. So that'll be, making sure that the national anthems are played and all of that type of thing. If you're sharing promotional information, you need to make sure it uses kind of generic terms like global football tournament or soccer tournament, match day, stuff like that. You cannot use the official World Cup. You cannot use FIFA, do not use the logos or anything like that. You've got to keep it very generic. Try and avoid the team crest. So if I was going to show, say, England, I may show the St. George's flag, but I wouldn't show the 3 lines crest. So you've got to be very careful with that, or it could get flagged. And then you obtain a commercial package for showing the matches. Now, if you own a bar or something like that, you'll be very familiar with that. There's your normal cable package, and then there'll be the commercial one. It tends to be a little bit more expensive. Sometimes it'll have other feeds that you won't necessarily get here, which are just for bars. This World Cup, I believe most of the games are either on Fox or Telemundo. I believe they're the 2 official broadcast partners for this World Cup. And again, the most important thing is, you're not charging to get into the location. You can't use those official terms, and you shouldn't be using a personal streaming device to get these feeds. You should be getting it from a commercial package. So I'm just going to go through the list that they've already created. Live broadcast only. There's no recording the game and then playing it at a later time. It has to be the live broadcast. Again, we talked about you cannot pause the commercials. They need to play the entirety with all of that commercial elements untouched. They do want the full match. So I'm seeing here it's 10 minutes before kickoff for regular matches, but at least 20 minutes before the opening and closing matches when they start to get to the knockout stage of the tournament. And this is something really important to remember. When you're scheduling these things, especially when you get to the knockout stage, it may not just be a 90-minute game. Because once a famous thing was said, what is football? It is a game of 90 minutes, then you play 30 minutes of extra time, and then England loses to Germany on penalties, but hopefully not this time. But plan for that when you get to those knockout stages. Don't expect that it's just going to be smooth sailing and every game is going to be done after 90 minutes. Maybe make sure your staffing is appropriate if it does go to extra time, and then the dreaded penalties can drag on. So let's make sure that you do have all of that stuff covered. There can be no political associations. So if you have a local political candidate who's trying to latch on to the game, unfortunately, you're going to have to decline that offer. And then no other false affiliations with FIFA or World Cup. Couldn't suggest with, a drink, the FIFA cocktail or something like that. That would not be allowed. Avoid those commercial trademarks. Yep, cannot charge admission. You can't say FIFA happy hour or anything like that. And then no unauthorized branding. So logos, names, promotion materials from companies that are not official FIFA sponsors near or around the displays. So you can't have maybe a banner underneath the screen. That would not be seen as appropriate. Okay, next thing we're going to look at is, bear with me one second to get to that, the special non-commercial public viewing. So this is typically for over 1,000 people, no sponsorship. They have to be free of charge. So maybe say the Portuguese Community Center wants to put on a big watch party for all of its members. It can do that, but they do need to go through these things to make sure that is done correctly. So this license would be your universities, your cities, cultural groups, that type of stuff. So for these large scale free events, public viewing events, you're going to need to make sure you get a legal broadcast feed. You're going to have to get the appropriate license from FIFA, and then permits if necessary for your event. So FIFA has a portal, and on that portal, you can go and apply to get that public viewing license for your community event. Your organization will need to apply directly through that portal to get that. And there'll be information requested on what's the possible capacity of the crowd, the location, all of that type of stuff. FIFA will review the applications. It will be looking at other things like, is there an official fan fest near where that is? Is it going to affect something else like that? And it's not going to guarantee that you are going to get a license to be able to do it, because they want to make sure that they're not affecting another event. It's the same type of rules. You do have to make sure that you get a public viewing license, and that'll be through their media partners, Fox and Telemundo, to get you that. And the media partners, which is Fox and Telemundo, may charge a licensing fee and a technical fee with the price depending on the event. Now, most of this information you're going to find on the FIFA site. With any public event, you don't just need your license to show the match itself and the permission from FIFA to do that. You do need to make sure that you get the permits, maybe to close the street. You'll probably have amplified sound. You may need an amplified sound permit. If you're closing a street, you're going to need to get Public Works involved with that. Often there'll be if they're allowing you to shut down the street, you have to have signs up like 72 hours before to make sure people realize not to park their cars there. So you're going to make sure that you can do all of that stuff. So it's not just getting a license, getting a provider like Funflix to bring the screen and that type of stuff. Make sure you've got bathrooms and the streets closed off and all of that stuff. So again, this is the same as the previous one. Your match must be shown live. You cannot alter any of the content. You can't pause the commercials and play your own commercials. You need to play what was on the broadcast. And again, you need to show the game in its entirety, including 10 minutes before, 10 minutes after, and when you get to the knockout stage, 20 minutes before, 20 minutes after. Same thing applies. Make sure when you're planning this stuff, especially those later matches in the knockout tournament, when you do your permits, make sure you're doing those permits assuming that the match is going to go to extra time and penalties. So extra time is typically half an hour extra, so it'll be just over half an hour because there'll be a little break in between. If it's really hot, they may have water breaks and things, and then the actual penalty shootout, which can take a while as well. So you can at least need at least an hour after the original match. And of course, if anybody's getting injured, if there's a lot of injury time at the end of the game, these games can really extend. So when you get to the knockout stage, maybe have the permits for an hour and a half, 2 hours longer than you think the match is going to end, just in case something strange happens and there's lots of injury time and it goes to extra time and goes to penalties and then it's sudden death. Let's make sure you do get the extended time on that. And then after the match again, if it's early games, that's going to be the 10 minutes after the game finishes. If it's the final, 20 minutes is hopeful. If you want to see the trophy lifted, 20 minutes is hopeful. You're going to want to be half hour, 45 minutes after the game until you see all of the festivities and all of that great stuff. So let me see. Again, no political associations, no false associations. So you don't want stuff next to the screen that isn't to do with FIFA. And again, these ones they're free events to the public. They don't want you to offer World Cup food themed or beverage promotions, as in FIFA happy hour. You've got to avoid that type of things. Not placing any official branding like logo names, promotional materials from companies that are not affiliated with FIFA. If you're doing a big community event, follow the rules, get the appropriate licensing. They'll be able to walk you through this stuff. And it's a great way to activate the communities. We are so lucky in the Bay Area that we are one of the hosting cities. We'll be down, in San Jose at Santa Clara. So it's going to be a really, really exciting World Cup. It's the biggest World Cup ever. One other tip. So the beginning of the World Cup, there's a lot of games every day. But that last round of the group, 2 games are on at the same time. So they do that so they team can't throw a game because they know another team won, and if they get a draw or whatever, they automatically go through. They play the last games in the group at the same time. So if you're doing one of these watch parties, you may want to be having 2 screens up, maybe 2 slightly different locations in the same area, so you can watch whatever match you want to watch. One thing I was thinking would be super cool is have silent disco headphones and have the screens together, and then if you wanted to listen to the audio, you can flick to the different stations on your headset and then get the game that you want to listen to at that time. But it's going to be so much fun to host these events. Again, if you're looking for somebody to help out, definitely, find Funflix or another screening vendor like that to actually get that big LED screen out there. Most of the games are during the day, so you are going to need LED. I think there are a couple of night games. Then you could do a really big inflatable screen, but if it's that daytime viewing experience, it's going to have to be an LED screen. So if you do have any questions, just pop them in the comments below, and we'll see you out there. Have a good one.